Now it's 5:47. We move on. And a Worcester victim of what she describes as the NHS's worst treatment disaster says her calls for a public inquiry are back on the political agenda. Colette Wintle was one of nearly 5,000 people who was infected when she was given contaminated blood from America in the 70s and 80s. The issue is now to be debated in the House of Commons next week. Colette, good morning. Good evening to you.
Hello, good evening.
Now, this is back on. How come this is back now in the public domain?
I think the main reason is that there is a public inquiry in Scotland which will be reporting very soon, and I feel that the government are probably nervous of what the outcome of that might be, and the fact that it may throw up some very embarrassing issues which they have refused to cover. And in fact, they've refused a public inquiry. What I find interesting is that when all of this scandal took place, it happened under a Westminster umbrella, not under a devolved Scotland. So, in fact, the NHS and the Department of Health should have actively been taking part in a full-blown public inquiry, including the entire UK, because we're talking about well over 5,000 innocent haemophiliacs and other people infected in the same way.
And so you essentially want to get to the bottom of how this contaminated blood from America was used with people like yourself.
That's right. And in fact, I have to commend Alistair Burt, who has in fact secured this debate following a backbench business committee meeting on Tuesday, because it's long been felt that it is overdue, the answers that we have been asking for a very long time, and that we deserve an inquiry. And when you consider that the government have responded to the questions that were being asked into Bloody Sunday and Hillsborough disaster, and put together the fatalities in both of those, sadly don't even come anywhere near the loss of the lives to the haemophilia community and beyond. So, yes, we want answers, and I think this is the first opportunity which Alistair has requested, that the government really should step up and get involved. And to be fair,
and if you got that inquiry, and ultimately, what would you like from it? I mean, clearly you've got some questions you'd like answers to, and what is it? An apology, or what would it be?
There are a number of things. I think yes, but very much an apology. We've never had that, and certainly I think what really upsets every victim of this tragedy is that there has never been proper, meaningful discussion with ministers, MPs, Department of Health have hidden. I think there's a strong perception, quite rightly, that this has been a massive cover-up on an epic scale. And I think we want acknowledgement of the wrongdoing of the past governments, and the fact that they've chosen to sweep this under the carpet for years. And it's about accountability, because this is the biggest NHS scandal ever in the history of the NHS, and year after year, decade after decade, victims have died, lost their lives with no answers. Many of them, their families have broken up because of it, and the biggest issue, of course, is the financial damage that it's caused as well, not just the physical harm, but the fact that many lost their jobs, they've had no income, no ability to plan for the future or look after their families. And
you will continue to pursue this until you get your answers?
Yes, I will. I've always felt very strongly that this is an injustice on a huge scale, and it's the biggest moral wrongdoing in decades. And I think that any government, who chooses to ignore this is doing a terrible thing. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for David Cameron and his government to show and demonstrate that he really does mean what he says. And he gave a commitment last year to not just his own constituent, but to the wider community of victims, that he would put this right and that we would have an answer. Well, the end of the year came and went, and we haven't had any answers from him. But I believe that this is the first opportunity with this debate where we can have proper, meaningful discussion, which I hope will lead to an inquiry.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what we all hope for. It's justice, ultimately justice.
Thank you. Colette Wintle from Worcester, campaigning for a public inquiry to be held into how thousands of people, including herself, were given contaminated blood in the 70s and